Hello guys, welcome to another edition of the Comic Review Retro Reviews. I am your host, Eric, as always. Today we are going to be looking at a different superhero, not even a superhero yet, in the Marvel Pantheon here. We've done a couple of videos reviewing the classic Fantastic Four. We've seen the Fantastic Four fighting the Mole Man, the Skrulls, but now we're going to shift gears very quickly over to another founding member of a very important group of the Fantastic Four. So today we are going to be taking a look at Tales to Astonish number 27. That's right, we're going to hit one of Marvel's anthology books, usually designated for like monster stories and that kind of thing. Tales to Astonish number 27 is written by Stan Lee and illustrated by Jack Kirby. There are four different stories, 4 or 5 different stories in this book. We're going to be concentrating on the very first one called The Man in the Ant-Hill. This is actually the first appearance, not of a superhero, but of his alter ego in Hank Pym. All of you who have watched the Marvel Cinematic movies, you know he was played by Michael Douglas in the Ant-Man movie with Paul Rudd as a former Ant-Man. This first issue of this comic shows basically the beginnings of that character. The issue opens with Ant-Man very much in like a mad scientist kind of a role. He is a scientist who is creating a shrinking formula and also the reversal formula, making things grow back to their normal size. Because of his experimentation in things that are not practical sciences, though we never hear in the episode or in the issue what practical sciences are, most likely it's about atomic energy, seeing as how that's pretty much all we get at this point. Everything has to do with atomic energy, cosmic rays, everything like that. But again, he is being ridiculed because he's not doing practical things, he's doing all these weird kind of experiments, and he's basically got that whole like, I'm going to show them, I'm going to show all of them, they're going to think I'm the greatest scientist ever kind of thing at the beginning of this issue. So he creates a shrinking formula. He tests it on, I believe, a chair at the beginning of the issue, and the serum actually works. It's able to shrink down the chair, and he's able to use a growth formula to make it grow back to normal size. And he talks about all the different applications for this, that you can more easily carry troops overseas and this kind of thing, kind of like more military applications of it. But then he decides he's going to do human trials and test it on himself. So Hank puts, takes the formula, immediately shrinks down, realizes that it works. Fantastic. The main problem though here is that he decides to leave the enlarging formula on the windowsill. If you're going to shrink down to 1/4 of an inch tall, I would want to put the enlarging formula somewhere that I could get to it very easily. Maybe on the floor, next to where I'm standing possibly. It might take me a few minutes to get there once I've shrunken down, but the windowsill, not a good place. He realizes this very quickly and kind of starts to panic. In his frantic state, he runs outside, again, down a bunch of steps, which I don't know how he's going to climb up them, but he's frantic about the fact that he left his serum up on the windowsill. He meets a bunch of ants at this point, gets scared, and attempts to run away from them. He decides to run into the anthill, thinking he's going to hide in the various caverns of the anthill at this point. No criminal, bank robber, jewelry thief, anything like that has ever thought, maybe I'll escape the cops by going to the police department and hiding in a storage closet. I don't know what Hank is thinking at this point. Maybe it's because it's the only covered area that he can find going into the anthill, but regardless, this is what he does. He goes into the anthill, has a couple little adventures inside of the anthill. At some point, he falls into the anthill and lands in honey because he realizes that the ants there are honey ants. I did a little bit of research, not much, talking about it in the comments if you have some contradictory information, but honey ants don't necessarily produce honey like bees, from what I've been able to tell. They more or less keep food and whatnot inside their stomachs so that other ants can eat off of them. It's really weird, but I do not believe that there would actually be a honey on the ground. If I'm wrong, let me know, and I did terrible research for this video and I'm pasting it all over the internet, but let me know in the comments if I'm an idiot or not. Hank is at this point saved by another ant. Somehow he befriends a small ant in the anthill here, but then he gets attacked by ants again. He's able to find a match and a lasso inside the anthill here. He lights the match, scares off the ants, uses the lasso to climb away, climb up the wall inside the anthill. When he gets to the top of this cliffside, he gets attacked by another ant that grabs him, and he is able to defeat the ant using his knowledge of judo in order to judo chop him, sorry, and defeat the ant. Because all bookworm scientists know the art of judo. Again, this is the 60s. Hank is able to finally get out of the anthill. He sees his enlarging formula up on a windowsill from the ground, and he once again meets the same ant that saved him earlier in this section of the book. The ant is able to give him a ride up to the window. He's able to use the enlarging formula, and his trials are over. He is now back to his normal size, and he decides that the formula is just too dangerous to have, so he destroys both formulas. I believe he pours them down the sink, and that is that. There is a little bit of section in here where the other scientists talking about, oh, your experiment failed, and he's like, well, not necessarily, but I'm going to devote my life to more practical scientific exploits. And Hank Pym decided from that day forward he was never going to step on an ant because he befriended this other ant. And that's the end of the story. So it's almost a one and done. Essentially is a one and done at this point. I believe that a lot of people really liked the character of Hank Pym in the 60s because other things that happened to him haven't been written yet. Because at this point he's really not the most popular Marvel character. But this story proved popular enough that Stan and Jack decided to use the character again in Tales to Astonish. Hank Pym next appears in Tales to Astonish number 35. He, in that issue, actually becomes the hero Ant-Man. But I just find it funny that they retell his origin in that story, but I kind of wanted to bring this one up just because this is his official first appearance in comics, so it's pretty interesting to see that, you know, kind of where characters move and whatnot from their humble beginnings and what eventually happens to them. But yeah, I just thought this was kind of an interesting story, and it was very, very goofy. And for a smart guy, he's pretty dumb when it comes to leaving his formula lying around. But whatever. There's other stories in this particular book. I'm not going to go over them unless you guys are really interested to see Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, The Talking Horse, Dead Planet, or read the little novella Trouble Bubble. I mean, who wouldn't want to hear about a talking horse tricking a guy into, you know, betting on him and, you know, getting in trouble with the mafia, and basically the horse being, you know, responsible for murder. It was the 60s. So tell me what you guys think of this issue. Did you like this first premiere of Hank Pym? Are you excited, if you are going to be following along with me in my retro reviews, to see how we go from this story to the character of Ant-Man in issue number 35 and onward? Were you surprised that this is technically the first Avenger to premiere in Marvel Comics outside of Captain America, because he wasn't a founding Avenger? But let me know what you guys think about this issue in the comments. And I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into this retro review on the Comic Review. If you enjoyed the video and if you're enjoying the retro style of reviews we're doing, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing some more reviews here in the next few weeks. Again, trying to work out getting back on a regular schedule. And yeah, just let me know what you guys think of the format, and I will see you guys in the next review.